Well. Darren Mougey gave one of his first press conferences today. And what did we learn? Well, not much. Actually, Mougey's the general manager, and you don't expect him to spill the beans about what the Jets are going to do in the draft later this week. But of course, these press conferences are required. All of the general managers across the league are giving them. The NFL says you must give a press conference before the draft. So we did. Now, the biggest news coming out of this press conference, in my opinion, is something great that Mougey did. He avoided the question about Aaron Rodgers perfectly. He got the question. He said, I appreciate the question, but I'm focused on the players on our team and the draft coming up. And that's it. Gives the reporters nothing. Nada, zip. They can't do nothing with that. All they can do is say he avoided the question, which he did do. And that's about as negative as you can get. Because anything you could say, anything that you do say in regard to that can be taken out of context. They can take one word you say, one phrase, one tone. This way, all they could say is Muji avoided the question, which is true. And that's as negative as they could get about that. And that's going to put the Rogers thing to bed. Bye. Good luck wherever you go, Aaron. But this is something that our people, whether it's going to be AG or the coaches or the players, I hope that they are taking this approach to those type of questions. You know, we're going to get these type of questions from the dumbass, dopey beat reporters all the time. They're doing their job of trying to, drudge up, juicy stories and headlines, and it's your job to avoid them. That's a big part of the job. And so Muji gets it. And so that's perfect. And hopefully that mate stays the same. Douglas and Salah had trouble doing that. They tried at times, but they would give something. And then it would just take off and become a big fire out of nothing. That's why you have to say nada certain situations. Now, when it came to the draft, we didn't really learn anything either. He basically gave all of the GM um, cliches, as you should. That's exactly what you should say. Well, he enjoyed the process. The board is getting set. He's going to call all the 31 teams. This week it's going to be about calling. Hey, you want to move up? You want to move down? You want to make a trade? You check in with everybody. He thinks it's a good draft. You can get good players throughout. The process has been great, even though it's first time for him as a GM. The process has been good. All the people around him are fantastic. AG is amazing. He feels good about where the roster is now, and he should. He's the one who constructed it. But so you would not expect him to say anything but what he said today, really. But that is a good thing. In other words, he's not saying stupid stuff. He's not over talking. He's answering the questions and avoiding the ones that you have to avoid. They do have measurement thresholds that they use, but they're not, they use those kind of as tiebreakers, he said. The brand of players that they want, some people might latch onto this. They want physical, smart, tough, resilient players. Yeah, guess what? Every team wants those. There's not too many teams that want dummies who are soft and weak. But character is important. They do a lot of work on the character of the player, he said. So that's interesting. Although all the teams do that also. Offensive line, they tried to goad him into saying something about our offensive line and need to upgrade. He refused to say so. He said he feels good about our roster, but there's also good offensive linemen in the draft. That's exactly what you should say. So what I think is that Muji gets it. Hopefully, based on this, hopefully Muji understands his role vis-a-vis the media, meaning that the media is not your friend. Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh thought they could charm the media, specifically Saleh. Douglas was a little different, but Saleh thought he could charm the media, and Saleh could charm most people in the world, but not the media. You can't. They're the uncharmables, as I've said many times. They're the uncharmables. We're going to rely on the coaches. We're going to collaborate with everyone. AG is passionate and consistent with his passion about players with his scouting background. He did say, Justin, we feel great about Justin, and he's the starter. They tried to focus in on what about competition? You're basically giving the job to Fields. Shouldn't there be a competition? He said, yeah, open competition's great, but Justin's our starter. So they really, really love Justin Fields. That's the thing you have to understand. The way they pursued him in the offseason, the contract he got, and then everything they've said about him since, they think he can do it. And so we're going to find out. It's a 1 year experiment. They're going to do what I've said, which is Fields maxing. They're going to try to max out the talent that they believe he has. You might say, well, shouldn't they have added some more wide receivers or better offensive linemen in the offseason, in the free agency? Well, okay, that's a quibble, but I think that's the idea: is that they think they can get the most out of Fields, and everything they've done, most importantly, and said, reiterates that. And they reiterated it today. They talked about Rick Spielman being a great addition to the team. He did say that Spielman had other offers. So that was kind of newsworthy. Rick Spielman had other offers out there to join in a similar role, and Mougey had to recruit him to the Jets. So, and then he chose the Jets. So that's interesting. And then more GM cliches about best player available. There will be some nerves now that he has to make the decision, but he's not worried about it. He has a good process, has good people around him, blah, blah, blah. But the main thing about Mougey in this press conference was he avoided the things he needed to avoid. He used cliches when he needs to use cliches, which is almost all of the time. And that is how you deal with our dopey beat writer media and therefore not create extra headlines, extra juicy stories. We don't need that. What we need to do is shut our mouths, go out there and play and win some football games and let that do the talking for us. And Mougey seems to understand that, so that's good news. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section down below. If you're new here, please subscribe. If you're not new here and you're already a subscriber, tell somebody about the Frankie channel. We're trying to build up our subscriber base. So let people know Frankie exists. Link this video on your social media. And don't forget to tune in on Thursday when we do a live stream at well, we won't be at the draft, but of the draft. We'll see who we get. We'll talk about the drafting. Join us on the Frankie channel live this Thursday at 7 p.m. And then we'll come back on Friday as well. So I'll see you